When somebody asks if Secret Lairs are worth it, I always want to ask them, like, what do they value in whether something's worth it, right? Because some people say, like, I don't know, it's just worth it, like, value-wise, right? Well, okay, maybe not. But are we talking about, like, value today? Because a lot of Secret Lairs have gone up in value over the last, well, a bunch of them go up in value before they even release. I mean, before you get them in your hands. Like, when they're online, once they shut down, some people still want them, so the value starts moving up on them. We've had way more Secret Lair cards go up than stay the same even. So in that regard, your long-term value, like if they're close, then you're probably just worth it to buy it from that regard, because the value is just going to be worth more later. At least realistically speaking, the gamble says the odds are high that it's going to be worth more later. So that's a good reason. And I'll be honest, I have Secret Lair stuff in my closet. I've never opened a Secret Lair package. Like, I even bought some extras for future giveaways and stuff, knowing they're going to be worth more later. So like Secret Lair Black is Magic, I bought like 2 foil ones, maybe 3, and 4 regular ones. And they're just in my closet. And they were worth nearly double what you were able to buy them for on the Secret Lair site by the time they ended up in my hands. So, good deal, right? And when you buy in bundles, when they have the bundle deals available, you get 10% off, usually, off of buying like all 6 in the super drop or whatever. So that's another thing you have to figure in, because that also usually averages out to about $1 to $1.50 a card, depending on how many are in there. So, you know, it is what it is. James says, sweet looking playmats. Also just got done playing your Boros Artifact deck. I'm glad you like it, actually. That deck's actually really fun. So let's switch screens over here. And like I said, we'll take a look at these Secret Lairs kind of piece by piece. I'm only going to look at the non-foils. Foils have a whole different value. I don't do much in foils unless I sell them. So I'm largely going to be ignoring the foils for the sake of this discussion. I'm just going to be talking about the non-foil cards. Feel free to do with that information what you will. I'm just letting y'all know up front. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the Street Fighter one, because this is going to be the hardest one, I think, for people to value. Punisher says, I always ask myself if I should play with them or keep them safe. Apop says, I did the same thing with Pokemon back when Wizards were still printing the cards. Fair enough. You know, I don't think it's so much about should you play them or save them. I think it's just a matter of, like, if you like the card, play with them. As long as you protect your cards, it is what it is. We're not going to get into discussion of condition, blah, whatever. Like, people still buy these, period. That's all that matters. I don't care about anything else. I mean, I get it. It's a thing, but like, take that chatter somewhere else. Like, people still buy these. Value is what it is. So that's what we're talking about. I mean, we're talking about the thing that we can touch, we can be involved in, that we can control, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like anybody's happy whenever you get a warped card or whatever. Is what it is. Can't do nothing about it. We're not going to waste time talking about it. That's not part of the discussion. We're just talking about different reasons people would buy these, and is it worth it for them to do so? Right? That's it at the end of the day. Secret Lair Street Fighter, $39.99. This is an interesting one because there are actually 8 cards in this super drop. Right? And, you know, as Seth's pointing out, yes, there is value because they've been giving bonus cards in these different Secret Lairs. So there's generally going to be something else that you don't even know what it is. And some of those have been very expensive because there's been like the Persistent Petitioners that they're doing a bunch of alternate arts of. We've seen the weird insert that was like a backwards card that they only made whatever, like 1,000 of or 100 of or whatever that was. Like, we've seen the stained glass Lilianas. So like, there's all kinds of things you can get. So we can't really take that value into consideration other than knowing that there will be some amount of additional value in these Secret Lairs. But what it is, don't know. We know there's been talk of some bonus card in here. We don't really know what it is. My guess is could be like an M. Bison or something, since it's like the main bad guy. But other than that, don't really know about it. But here, like I said, when there's 8 of these and you're only paying $40, that's actually not bad. You know, that's $5 a card, right? The odds of it being worse than that are pretty low. The other thing is, too, these have already been hyped a lot. People really like them. Anybody who misses a Secret Lair is probably going to be excited about these. And if any of these end up being playable, we know they're going to reprint them down the road later this year, just after the summer set, I think, in the list slot, right? So they're going to make these available to people. So if they are playable, people will eventually be looking for these original versions, which could give them extra value. So I would say the Street Fighter one, especially since there's a realistic chance that this could have a 9th card, is probably easy value. Because all it would take is even like 2 of these to be remotely playable in either Commander or Legacy or whatever to make this worth more than that. So like, I'm pretty good about that. Oh, that's true. I did see it was like the lightning bolt, the Hadouken lightning bolt. If I remember, I will include this on the video when it goes on the thing. But yeah, so you know you're at least getting a lightning bolt, and we know that every lightning bolt still holds some amount of value. So yeah, I'm into it. Especially a lightning bolt that you probably want multiples of. That could be worth a good amount. So yeah, I'm into it. If that lightning bolt's legit and real, then yeah, that alone makes it worth it. So I don't think there's even a lot to cover on this one. I think it's just, we know it's going to be solid. You might as well pick it up if you're worried about value. I like these. I like Street Fighter. I'm going to pick them up and probably not even going to even play with them. But we just went over the playmats with the Chibi Planeswalkers. So this one, we do have actual comps we can compare this to, right? So let's bring this up and let's look at what we've got here. We've got Tamiyo, the Moon Sage, right? And let's see, what did Tamiyos go for? So Tamiyos currently are about $16. So that's not a bad start to this. A Johnny Mentor of Heroes, which is also $11. Here, like $27, $28. We'll call it $27. And then there's Angrath, so a little short of $6. So we're what, 33 is the total there. And then Ashiok Dreamweaver, or Dream Render, I don't know how to say that. So only like $2, not even a full $2. And then we've got Soarin Grim Nemesis, which is $6. So this one's actually just on rate, just straight up decent value. I mean, in 2 cards, you basically already have the value, right? Because it's only $30. 2 cards already take you to 26. So you're definitely over that. People really like these and the artwork. I think this is a reasonably fine buy. I don't think I have any problem with this. I think this is one that people will do pretty well with. Now, again, remember that sometimes when these get printed, some of the prices of the regular ones do come down a little bit, which is one of the things that's good about reprints. So you may not get the full, you know, $26 out of the 2 big ones in here. They may drop to like 22, you know, maybe even 20, but the rest of your cards will make up that value. So if you like this artwork, you like this style, maybe you're fans of any of the artists on the Chibi Planeswalkers, I say go ahead, pick them up. I think it's going to be a fine deal. I don't have any issues with that. I think the value is fine on that one just from a dollar standpoint. What do we got here? Special guest, Yuko Shimizu? Is that how we pronounce that? What cards do we got here? So these are from past sets. So we got Hakori, which I haven't played with the Hakori in her forever. I don't even know what these go for right now. So we'll call that $7. We'll round up on that one. And then Kira, the Great Glass Spinner, 13. I knew Kira was always expensive, so we're getting up to about $20. And then Eidolon, 16. Okay, there you go. So now we're already over the mark, but significantly. And then Elvish Spirit Guide. These tend to always be somewhat playable. So yeah, exactly. So another $13. So this one's actually crazy over on value. Like, even if this were to drop the price of any of these cards by any reasonable amount, you'd still be over. I mean, this one's actually a pretty good one. For, like, you look at it and say, like, it's $30 and I'm only getting 4 cards or whatever. But, all right, cool. So you're averaging, what, $7.50 a card, I think is what that math is. But we just saw that a bunch of these are 13, 16, whatever dollars. So even if their price gets chopped 30%, you're still going to be fine and ahead on your money. So this one's totally worth it. Honestly, like, so far, 3 for 3 as far as I'm concerned with what Wizards is putting out on these. So, like, yeah, big fans of this. What do we got next? Shades not included. All right, so these are just land. So every time we get to talking about lands here, it's a little bit tough, right? Because basics are what they are. But we do know that people like having random, weird, cool, different basics. Like the ones they made for Kaldheim with like the, we'll call it the metal, I'll say in quotes, mana symbols. People really were digging those, and that was super exciting. But you still only get one of each, right? So are people going to want to pay $7 a piece? Again, well, this one's less than that. This is a 30, so $6 a piece because you're getting 5 for basic lands. Like, maybe? I mean, some of the others have ended up being worth quite a bit of money. For me personally, I would say this one's one you get if you're into the art style. And then just decide on if you want to buy like 5 of them or not, you know, whatever. So you have a reasonable amount to play with. But for me, I'm not overly into the style. So I would pick these up if I'm buying the bundle, but I don't know if I would buy any myself. And, you know, again, the bundle is usually about 10% off. So that's going to save you like another $1-ish per card average. And that makes it even more tenable, I think, a little better, more palatable. So I'm okay with it. Like I said, as part of a bundle, I don't think me personally that I would buy this one myself, but I kind of have that view on a lot of the ones that are just basics. So works for some people, just not for me, unfortunately. Pictures of the Floating World. I don't know what this one is either, so this should be a fun one. So these are just all lands from, oh, what set was that? I need to go look this up. Windbrisk Heights. Oh, Lorwyn? Is that this one? Yeah, they were Lorwyn. All right. So Windbrisk Heights, it's $1.50. Shelldock Isle, yeah, $7 though, so that's at least reasonable. Howltooth Hollow, a whole whopping 50 cents. And Spine Rock Knoll is a fantastic $1.60. And then Mosswort Bridge, $1.33. So yeah, from a dollar standpoint, you are very far away. Like, of all of them, this is the one, so it's probably going to be the least valuable of them all. Now, the artwork, sweet. Like, nothing wrong with that. This is reminiscent of that Japanese woodblock basics that we got out of the set. So, you know, those are very popular. These may make these also popular. This is another one that I think if you're just getting the bundle, sure, get it, tuck it away, see what happens a year from now, 2 years from now, what it's worth. If you're just buying individual units out of this Secret Lair, probably, if you're worried about dollar value, then I'm probably not buying this. Now, if you want them just to play with and you like the art style, go ham, right? But realistically, I don't think a lot of people are, but this is probably going to be the least sought after one because these lands aren't that well played. Even in Commander, I may see one every like 4th or 5th game I play in. They're just not super exciting. Hell, I think I only have one of them in one of my decks, honestly. Just not a super fan of these cards, and you know, their prices kind of reflect that. So even if they were to become worth more, they would have to go a little bit far to eclipse the value that you're getting in here, right? Because the highest one was only $7. These are averaging $6 each, and a bunch of them are like $1.30. One was 50 cents, right? So you'd have to have cards come up way high in value. Like, these would have to reach realistically where they're going in the $5 range, which they could. Because one of the things, and here's another weird thing, and this is why I say I'm kind of okay getting them as part of a bundle. If nobody buys these, they are really, really rare, right? Because they're effectively printed to order and then shipped. With a few spares just for shipping issues or whatever, obviously. But if that's the case, then this is the rarest version of each of those cards with unique one-time art, right? And that's kind of the unique thing of Secret Lairs, is no matter what, there's always that inherent value of, well, this is the only way this version's ever going to exist, and it will never exist again, right? So it's got some amount of scarcity to it. Again, for me personally, though, I don't know how long I'd be willing to wait for that scarcity to matter, so I'm probably just picking this up as part of a bundle. Not sure I'm doing it individually. And then that brings us to Kamigawa, the manga, the cards. That is a long-ass title for no good reason. All right, so this one is going to be a little better. We have Idyllic Tutor. All right, $6. I thought it was a little more than that, but, you know, $6, not bad. Swords to Plowshares. Now, that being said, Swords to Plowshares, there's a bunch of different versions out there. Still worth anywhere between $3 and $5-ish bucks, depending on which version you're going after. So yeah, it's fine, but you are getting unique artwork in this one, and it is a playable card. Solve the Equation, I don't think is worth anything. I could be really wrong here, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah, oh, it's actually worth more than I thought. It's worth $3. I'll have to put this in my, what'd you call it, Hidden Gem series at some point. That one snuck up on me too. I mean, it makes sense. The card's good, but you don't see it a lot in Standard, which is probably why it just skipped my mind. Praetor's Grass, $14. So there you go. That's one that's bringing up the value a bit. And then Veil of Summer is another one I don't think people think about still being worth much, but it's because it's a uncommon and it got banned in Standard or whatever, but it's still $8. So you've got really the big ones. You got 14, 6, and 8. So that's 28 on its own. We'll call it $3 for a Swords of Plowshares. So that's going to get you up over your $30. I don't have a problem with that. I think this is going to be over your $30 mark. And this is a pile of cards that's actually playable. I mean, to me, that's kind of the other factor, right? Are these cards we're looking at even realistically playable? Because that's kind of the biggest thing, right? If you're worried about the rarity or the scarcity mattering, part of it is, are they also popular? Because at some point, people will look for these older versions or these rarer versions. And here, I think you're getting a Secret Lair where people at least want all 5 of the cards. And you don't get that very often. Usually you get like 3, maybe 4 of the 5 that people really want. And there's one just kind of thrown in because it's older and different or whatever, or it fits the theme, right? But here, these are actually all playable cards. So yeah, I'm good with this. So overall, if you're looking to buy individually, I would say the only 2 that really kind of surprised me that I would skip on would probably be the Pictures of the Floating World, unless you really want that artwork and you play, probably if you played at least 3 of these cards in some of your commander decks and you like the artwork, it's probably worth buying. Outside of that, I probably wouldn't be big on it. Shade's not included. Again, it's a basic land one. I'm fine with it. It's part of a bundle. I'm probably never buying a basic land one unless it's, I don't even know. Like, it'd have to be super special or really call to me to make me want to pick it up. Otherwise, doesn't really do much for me. Now, the other thing here is we do have a showcase version. And like I said, I was doing only the non-foils. But we do have one that comes, I guess, only in foil. So we will go ahead and bring that up and take a look at it. And this one's $49, so it's on the higher side of what they put out for Secret Lairs. And how do I feel about it? I don't know. But you are getting the rare Neon Ink, which is kind of like a one-time thing, I guess, because we've only done this in Kamigawa, so we don't really have anything to base this on other than, you know, the super rare Hitotsugu, but like that's so rare it really doesn't apply. So really, again, you're just looking at cards. Ghostly Prison, I mean, at one time Ghostly Prison was super valuable. It has since dropped to $3 because there's been several printings over the last few years. But the foil ones are still very expensive because a lot of the reprints we got haven't been foiled. So you do have it at about $25, which is pretty, you know, nothing to turn your nose up at. I mean, that's half the value of what you're playing in this just on the Ghostly Prison. So don't hate it. I think it's actually pretty reasonable. Freed from the Real. And again, we're comparing these to foils just because they're only in foil. So Freed from the Real, it's another one that regular versions are like $3 or $4, but the foil versions are $20, right? Because they just don't exist. And I think Freed from the Real only has 2 printings, because I think it was the original one and then one in Masters, one of the Master sets. I don't know, Masters 25 maybe. So, you know, $23, $20, like pretty good. Now you're at 2 cards basically coming up on your value already. And we have Hall of the Bandit Lord, kind of bringing up the rear here. Funny thing about this card is that regular ones are $25, but foil ones are nearly $150. Like, they've taken a big jump over the last 2 years. going up from about, I would say in the ballpark of, you know, $100, and then creeping on the way up to 140, 150. Now, obviously, each of these being reprinted in foil is going to bring their old foil prices down a bit. Not a bunch, because, you know, rare collectibles are still rare collectibles. So can't really use that to judge the value. But let's say, for whatever reason, which probably won't happen, but let's say it's the other Boseiju, that's fine. It doesn't really matter. It's the old Boseiju. Doesn't change much either way. But let's say the value of these gets chopped in half. You're still going to be way ahead of your $50, right? Literally, you could chop the other values in half, still have a lot of value. Are these going to be comparable to those? Don't know. I mean, it kind of depends on how many get picked up or how rare they end up being. I mean, now, technically does change your price assessment, you know, looking at the older Boseiju, saying, okay, well, instead of a $30 foil, you got a $70 foil, right? But still, you're already way over your value regardless. And again, chop all those in half, you're still going to be well over $50. Hell, I would say chop them down 75%. You're still going to be over your $50. So this one's also fine. So I'm not one that's into foils necessarily, so I'm not super excited about this one. But the cards are all good. They're all sought after. For some of these, it's their first real reprint. You know, so that's the other thing, that, you know, you're not going to be seeing a lot of these. So people that have been trying to get their hands on one that maybe don't want to spend $30, $50 for individual ones, will be able to pick these up. Let's say even if they're $20 a piece, like that's still going to be very good for these if you're trying to get one for your deck. Because there are people who are like, hey, I want a Boseiju, you know, I want a Freed from the Real or whatever, right, in foil, but I don't want to pay $50 for one card. But paying $50 for 4 cards and just having those others to play with is a totally reasonable thing people want to do. So yeah, I would say overall, this one's also very good. Now, looking at the whole pile, this is one of the better super drops they've had. I mean, just being honest, like overall, one of the better super drops for sure. I don't know, like I think this is a buy. Like for me personally, I gotta adjust my lights here a little bit. It got a little dark outside. But yeah, for me personally, on these Secret Lairs, on this particular super drop, there were only 2 that I didn't really care for, either from a value standpoint or from a playability standpoint. But looking at a lot of the other choices they made, I'm actually like really impressed with this super drop. Seriously, like the value is there on most of them. And again, even if the prices drop generally 20 to 30%, we're saying even on the foil ones, if the prices drop 50%, right, you would still be making pretty good on these. So that's a real big thumb up. And a lot of the cards are playable. That's the other thing, right? So if you want to swap out stuff to have cool versions in your commander decks or legacy decks or whatever, like you're getting some really sweet artwork on a lot of these, and you're gonna have the super rare version. Me personally, I'm probably gonna buy a bundle, the non-foil bundle. I'll probably get the ink foils, and then I'll probably get an additional Street Fighter one. I think that's gonna be my plan. Mostly because I think the Street Fighter ones are very cool and they're nostalgic, and I think people are gonna be very excited about them, and probably are gonna hold some reasonable long-term value. If, like I said, even if like 3 of them become playable in some formats, people will eventually want the older art, even when there's reprints with the Magic art. The, whatever we're calling the Neon Ink lands, that's more just a value play. Like I said, even if they get their foil value sliced, right, just plummet, still going to be worth more than the $50, and their cards that are sought after playable. And for 3 of them, I think they're going to be their only reprint so far to date, and in foil. So yeah, I'm into that one. Again, I'm probably just going to hold it just for value. I'm not necessarily going to play with them, but it'd be cool just to have. But yeah, other than that, not much else to say about the Secret Lairs. I think they knocked it out of the park on this one. The value is good, the artwork's cool, the crossover with Street Fighter works. They chose a good selection of cards for the neon inked ones, because again, you know, cards that hadn't been reprinted in foil ever, I think. So yeah, just all around, good job by Wizards.